Hello, today I'll be tying an interesting fly called the reverse spider. This pattern was first tied in the mid-1970s by Mike Kinney, who used it to catch cutthroat from the Stillaguamish River. Since then it's been used to fish for sea-run cutthroat throughout the Pacific Northwest and particularly here in Puget Sound. Now you'll see the fly is unusual in having forward-facing hackles, not unlike the Tenkara style pattern that were developed in Japan. Looked at from the front, these hackles make a cone that pulses when you strip the fly through the water. And I've attempted to show this here in this little video at slow speed. So this movement of the hackles also imparts an unpredictable movement to the fly, which is very attractive to the fish. I'm going to tie the fly exactly according to the original Mike Kinney recipe with Lady Amherst tippets and black chenille. But you can also do this in different colors and materials. Here's one I just tied with an orange body and hackle made of pink dyed mallard flank. You could really try any color combination you like. The original pattern called for a Tiemco curved nymph hook, model 200R, but I've been using these U203 hooks from Umpqua, which are very good and extremely inexpensive, here in a size 8. And these are bronzed hooks, and I'll be using them in salt water. So I'll be careful not to put the used ones back into my fly box unless I've rinsed them off in fresh water. But they're so quick and inexpensive to tie, I don't mind keeping them on the fly patch and just retiring them after a couple of sessions. Right, I'm going to use a UTC 70 thread in black, and I'm just going to start off by making a very short thread base right behind the eye. Only a dozen turns of thread, something like that. That'll do it. Cut off the waist piece and then wind back towards the eye. This here is my Lady Amherst head, which has enough tippet feathers for hundreds of flies. They get bigger as you go down the neck, and they change from having a rounded edge at the top to having a straight edge. I'm going to be picking one from about a third of the way down the neck for my size 8 hook, about there. And I want to have 2 black bars, so I'm going to remove the outside fibers, which only have black at the tip. Strip those fibers away from the stem and do the same for the other side. Now you may or may not have to do this, just depending on your tippets that you select. I'm going to expose the tip of the feather just behind that second black bar and brush back the fibers on each side. Now I'll turn the feather backwards and orient it so that the cupped concave side is pointing down. Offer that up to the hook, and then I will tie it in tightly right behind the eye and wind back just along that thread base. Now I'm going to trim away the tip section and put it away to one side from my tail. Now I'm going to wrap back to a point opposite the hook point using the magic of fast forward. To there. Take my tail and secure that with a few turns of thread. I want it to project behind the bend about a half a shank length, and that is too long, so I'm going to undo that, redo it. That's better. Now I'm going to come forward with my thread again to where I think my hackle is going to end, which is going to be around the point where that original thread base ended, about there. And I'll lift the hackle straight up and with moistened fingers just begin stroking all those fibers forward. Now it's really worth taking your time getting this right at this point. No hurry, nothing's going to come apart. them all pointing forward. There we go. Now I'm going to wrap the hackle, one turn right behind the last, going back towards the bend instead of going forward. All the time trying to keep those fibers facing forward. Opposite of the usual way of wrapping a hackle. And I'm going to keep going until I've wrapped them all those fibers. One more turn. Now I'll trap the stem with some tight turns. Take a look. Lovely. You see that? See that cone shape? That's just what you're aiming for. Okay. Cut that off. I'm going to just continue wrapping back towards the tail until I get to this point right here, about halfway along the shank. So take some medium black chenille and strip away a little bit to expose the core to tie in with. I'll tie that in at that halfway point between the tail and the hackle. We're going to be covering all that up, so it doesn't need to be very neat. I just move that out of the way and then return my thread back to the tie-in point at the tail. Now I'll grab the chenille and go forward with it in touching turns right up to the base of the hackle there. Then reverse direction and start winding backwards again to the tail. So this is going to have the effect of tapering the body off, so it's thinner towards the tail. And when we get there, trap it and tie it off. Cut away the excess. Now I could add a whip finish right here at the back, but my whip finish tool is only just going to be able to clear the front of the fly. So anything bigger than that, and I'm going to risk getting caught up in the hackle. So here's an alternative. I'm just going to take some small cylinder, and I'm using the insert from my hair stacker. Throw a loop of thread around it, back over the hackle, and then pull out the cylinder. And you've made a half hitch then that you can easily maneuver into place. Watch, and I'll add another one. Once round the cylinder, over the hackle, pull it off, and just tie it in place at the back. I'm going to do 4 of these half hitches, but there's nothing to stop you keeping going. You could add 5 or 6. And I think that's going to be just as secure as a whip finish, and no risk of getting caught up with your whip finish tool at the front of the fly, pulling the thread off the end, what have you. Okay, that's 4 of them now. And just cut that away. And to be on the safe side, I'm going to add a tiny little dab of glue over those half hitches. Just my fly tying cement. There you go. So there we have the classic version of the reverse spider. which is actually, you know, when you get used to it, it's actually quite easy and fun to tie. So I hope you give it a go. Best of luck. Take care.